Okay, so I've been talking a bit for about doing some wargaming related stuff on this channel for a while now. I decided to just go ahead and do it. Um, so I don't know how frequently this is actually going to happen, but that would be good to just kind of share some things I'm excited about, different projects I'm working on, and really just why would I talk about wargaming on a RPG channel? First of all, historically, the whole tabletop role playing game industry actually sprang from miniature wargaming. The good old standby that everybody talks about, Dungeons and Dragons, the game that started it all, initially began as a rule set for fantasy wargaming, and then eventually they started coming up with rules for ongoing campaigns and storylines, and eventually became, I just want to focus on this character, and became really open ended and whatnot. And then it became, it's eventually spawned the role playing game industry as we know and love it today. And, you know, I love RPGs. It's great to be able to kind of sit down and inhabit another person character's head for a while and kind of bring it to life and kind of make up a story along with a group of friends. I mean, if you're watching this channel, then you likely enjoy a lot of the same thing. But there's something also about just, where this all came from, the wargaming that I also really enjoy. I have done a couple of different historical game projects. I have some historical rule sets, namely Bolt Action. This is a World War II skirmish game, as well as Blitzkrieg Commander, which is much larger. The scale of battles is much larger. It's like very combined armsy. I could probably talk about that a bit later, but the one like system, not necessarily the system, but like the one setting that I love the most. Once I really dove into it, just because it's so crazy, it's bonkers, it's off the wall. If those three words should probably tip you off to what it is. That's Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer 40K. Just Games Workshop's sci-fi war game setting is just, oh my gosh, it's just heavy metal soap opera. That's the best way I could describe it. But anyways, I got started playing that. I got really started getting into it beginning of last year, but the group that I was playing with kind of fell by the wayside. Life got in the way, as it sometimes does. But I just kept, building and painting because I enjoyed it. It was just very relaxing. It was a nice little creative outlet, a little something different from role playing, from my role playing stuff. And I think what I really enjoy about the miniature gaming is just the fact that you have the miniatures. It's something concrete. Here, I can actually show you. This guy right here. Those of you who actually play 40K have a pretty good idea what this is. This is a Chaos Sorcerer in Terminator armor. This is actually the very first 40K model that I built and painted. And let's see, I don't know if the camera is going to be focusing on it or not. Hopefully this actually works out really well. But this guy, it actually has the color scheme that I did for my Chaos Space Marines. I had really dug the whole, what Tzeentch was all about, the change and the gathering knowledge and the ambition and everything. He's like the big nerd of the four Chaos Gods. And I also just really, the Chaos, his, the Tzeentch demons, I think just kind of look the coolest out of all of them. Because it's like, Khorne, they're all red and they look like your usual devils and just all angry and they usually have some kind of name that sounds like a really bad like death metal band. bloodletters and whatnot. And it gets even worse when you go to Age of Sigmar with the names of the Khorne Bloodbound. I mean, Slaughter Priest. That just screams death metal in my mind. But I was like, that was the bloodletters and everything. Just like meh. Nurgle, they're usually bloated and kind of really sickly looking. It just doesn't do anything for me. Although the new Plague Marines that have been coming out for Death Guard and whatnot, those models look fantastic. Almost convinced me to start building a Nurgle warband, maybe in the future. And then like Slaanesh is just, I still don't, not too crazy about the looks of a lot of Slaaneshi demons. Because it's all, there's like the steeds are like lizardy aardvark things, and it just doesn't do anything for me. But the Tzeentch demons, those guys, a lot of them look like something that Lovecraft would have come up with on a bad acid trip, and I love it. I actually have I have a unit of pink horrors as well as a trio of flamers of Tzeentch, which really have that kind of nightmare fuel look about them. And I mostly have that for Age of Sigmar because I'm trying to keep 40k to just one codex, because those books cost quite a bit. So do the models. So it's like you just want to reel it in, at least for your wallet's sake. But as I said, I eventually kind of stepped away from that for a bit, even though I always really, I did really fall in love with the universe and everything, just because, again, it's just so over the top and just bonkers. But I actually kind of really slowed down with a lot of the wargaming and the miniatures and everything for a while anyways. But then, last week I kind of rediscovered my love for it, because I'd actually sat down to finish a couple of projects that I'd started. One of them is a terrain piece. Let's bring this up here. This guy right here is the Obsidian Crypt that is made by Reaper Minis. This was just so much fun to actually get to painting once I actually got back to it. It'd been sitting around with just, a couple of the walls painted gray, and I may actually go back and kind of give it a little bit of a weathering effect once I actually figure out how to do it. But I was just like, it just made, it just did so much for me to relax and everything. It's actually kind of soul feeding too. It's good for the soul. I decided to finish up another project that I had. And this guy right here is the Aspiring Champion that comes with the Chaos Cultist Assault kit. And I have to admit, this kit, that kit, I'm a little disappointed just because it's all very samey. The only real way you can make any of them stand out is to, throw green stuff or milliput on them, which I did with the cultists themselves just to get a little variety. This guy right here, I was kind of toying with trying to come up with a more like Slaaneshi color, because I thought, maybe possibly I'd do a Slaanesh warband in the future. And I was kind of doing like Slaanesh scheme with, kind of the color scheme I was doing for my Tzeentch warband. Because I kind of imagined that there would be some units and whatnot that would be devoted to other chaos gods. Just a bit of the, bit of lore and fluff behind that. And I have to admit, some of it I came up with just as a convenient excuse to just play with all the toys in the Chaos Space Marine sandbox. But so eventually I just started going over to doing some conversions. Like this guy right here is part of the Chosen, this unit of Chosen that I made for my Tzeentch warband. I mean, you can tell it's Tzeentch because he's got a bird head. Somehow, feathers and bird are like another big Tzeentch thing for some reason. And one of my favorite guns in the game, the plasma gun. I mean, it seems like anytime I build a squad of anything, at least one of them has to have some kind of plasma gun on it. It just, I can't help it. A little compulsive that way, I guess. But anyways, a lot of this was, like the loincloth here was milliput, sculpting putty. And so was a lot of, the head, because, the actual Zongor headpiece that I used for the bird head, there wasn't actually a whole lot there just because of how those models are sculpted. So I had to add a lot of this stuff in to kind of give it a base to sit on and everything, and I just really enjoyed doing little things like that. So anyways, before we get to my current project, I wanted to show you kind of the impetus for why, this coming year I'm going to be starting a Slaanesh warband. It all has to do with this guy right here. That's right. The classic Noise Marines are coming back. I don't know if this is a full-on thing or if they're just doing this as like a anniversary celebration. But once I saw that these guys were coming out, they're actually coming out, that these guys are actually getting released this coming Saturday. Oh my gosh. I decided right then and there to jump right into it. I mean, you can see from the color scheme here that, that screams a lot more, Slaanesh and like excess and whatnot than your usual Emperor's Children, like purple, pink and black. I mean, it looks, those, that scheme looks nice, but it's just not, doesn't really say excess. And that's kind of more what I'm going for with this warband. A lot of people have talked about Slaanesh's image problem in Warhammer. This kind of goes with, kind of see a bit of that with the Chaos Demons, like especially the Demonettes and whatnot. It's usually more, Slaanesh is usually tied more to, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Noise Marines, the classic ones, that's very rock and roll, and I was just so excited for it. But there's more to it than that, There's also like the pain and torment element, which kind of goes with. You can see that I have a little bit here for the pre-order for the Wrath and Rapture box. Actually, some pretty sweet looking demons on the Slaanesh side in that kit. But there's more to Slaanesh than just like the sexy bit element to it. There's also needing, louder and more extreme music and having several songs playing at once to really get the same, rush and feeling that you got from just listening to one. That actually happens in the Horus Heresy novel in Fulgrim, where it's actually talking about the Emperor's Children falling to chaos. Horus Heresy novels are amazing, seriously. Read those. They're they're just incredible stories, even if you're not actually into playing the miniatures game itself. I guarantee you that at least one of those books will actually make you fall in love with the setting. But anyways, it talks about, them having to, it even says in the Chaos Space Marines Codex that they have to use just all these outlandish and clashing color schemes on their armor just to, feel any effect from it, because they're just like desensitized to just normal colors and everything. There's just always more and more and more. And, I'd like to see that with a lot of the line for, Slaaneshi Marines. I mean, getting these guys back is a great start. Before it was just like a conversion kit that you'd have to buy to make your Noise Marines, and you'd have like these dubstep guns, which I wasn't too crazy about. I mean, there's just so much you could do with this whole aesthetic and just the idea of sonic weaponry. I mean, you have these guys with their electric guitars, but, what if, and Games Workshop, I hope you're listening to this, what if you have like, Noise Marine Terminators with sonic blasters that are like big old bass guitars. You know, like they're trying to just get like the deepest tones possible to really, you know, get that rush. And besides that, you know, a lot of bass is very in your face and almost overstimulating. I mean, I sometimes when people are like blaring like rap and whatnot, where they're just got like the great bass pumped up, I get headaches from that. So, you know, I could see like, I mean, noise marine, you know, bassist terminators would be awesome. And maybe like you know, like demon engines where you've got like some dude that's, you know, playing these massive drum sets like you see like Neil Peart and Mike Portnoy use. Or even take that and just, you know, make it even more over the top than it already is. You could literally build a war band with that. I mean, the Terminators could even have like the speakers mounted on the backs of the shoulder pads, like you see the Loyalist ones. Some of the different models of Terminators they have like the little missile launcher racks and everything. Just so much you could do with it. You can even come up with like demons and whatnot that have like speakers or whatnot. There's just like it's just extreme sounds that they're projecting. Just so much to it. It'd just be so cool to see that. I might even try and do some conversions with some like Slaanesh Terminators with, you know, the bass guitar guns like I'm talking about. That would be so cool. That'd also be quite a lot of sculpting too. So yeah. So anyways, that's kind of what I'm looking to do here with the new year for wargaming projects. Is, you know, building a Slaanesh warband with I don't know how many squads of noise marines, and just like these just ridiculous color schemes and everything. It's also going to kind of force me to think a little differently, because I usually try to do like complementary colors and just like a handful. That's not very Slaanesh-like, so that's kind of going to help me to up my sculpting, my painting, and everything. It's really really stretch me out more than what I was doing with this Tzeentch warband, although I have some ideas to expand them also. And just a little bit here, I'm actually starting to build some Slaaneshi chosen for this warband that I'm working up. I got the champion here. A lot of milliput involved in this. And then one of the other guys here, you know, again, gotta have some kind of plasma weapon in just about every squad that I build. So there's going to be at least one plasma pistol or plasma gun involved. And this guy I was actually trying to model off of the dude that's in that picture where they start talking about the Emperor's Children in the Chaos Space Marines Codex. It's a real trip, and it's a lot of work. I don't know how much of the details actually going to come out, but darn it, you know, gotta push myself to do, you know, go crazy with the sculpting and the painting. So anyways, that's just a little bit on what I'm doing wargaming wise with the coming year, and even getting head start on right now. So what are some of the things you're looking to work on in, you know, whatever wargame you're into? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and even, you know, what you think of. You know, I'm just super stoked about the bassist Terminators. That would be awesome. I just can't get over that now that I've said it out loud. So anyways, usual stuff, you know, leaving, you know, comments, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you feel so inclined, and we'll see you next time.